and counting. The guidance system will go in.
Hi everybody, welcome to Studio Classroom Worldwide. I'm so happy you've joined us today. My name is Steve. How are you at minding your manners? It doesn't matter if you're 5 or 55. It doesn't matter if you're sitting on the sofa at home watching TV with your family, or if you're in a formal business meeting with colleagues. Manners are important. Manners have been described as the grease that makes the wheels of human relationships run smoothly. This is a good reason to make good manners a daily habit. Let's learn more about that on the top of page 38.
Polishing your manners can improve relationships. It pays to practice excellent manners within your own family on a daily basis. Otherwise, you'll swing back and forth between smooth manners and your casual self. You'll get tripped up at the worst possible time. I'm absolutely giving up swear words and bad manners, laughs a friend of ours we'll call Jason. I was crabbing at my wife during a parent-teacher function a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know the microphone near me was on.
Hi friends, thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan.
And my name is Kayla, and today we're looking at our third day on our article about manners. Being polite is important and can rescue some of your relationships. Ryan, yesterday we saw just the most awkward and awful Mr. Big Mouth attending a wedding.
That's right. We heard from an attorney who we called James, and he said he brought a friend along to a wedding, and his friend was incredibly rude, saying things to a second-time bride such as, "Was your last wedding as nice as this one?"
That's right. Was it as lavish as this one? Well, we learned that it seems that in society, people are getting more and more rude and less polite. And they will end up paying the consequences by being ostracized by the rest of society, by polite people. So it's going to pay off to practice excellent manners.
Exactly. So friends, if you don't want to be the kind of person that is ostracized because of your bad manners, practice excellent manners, at least within your own family, on a daily basis.
That's right. Now, on a daily basis means every day, not just when you feel like it, because manners aren't about feeling like it. Manners are about respecting other people even when you feel kind of bad. So every day, that's how important it is to practice.
Exactly. Friends, if you do something on a daily basis, you do it every day. If you do it on a monthly basis, you do it every month. So that's the way the word basis is used with time. And it does pay to practice. That means it's worth it.
That's right. Now, your family's not going to actually give you money to practice, but eventually you'll be really glad you did.
Yeah, if you don't, friends, or otherwise, you'll swing back and forth between smooth manners and your casual self.
Now, I think casual's a great word here because, you know, Ryan, we were talking yesterday about the internet and how people communicate on the internet in a very casual way. And that means they're relaxed and laid back. They're not focusing on having nice, smooth manners.
Yeah, now here the word smooth, when it's used with manners, refers to, well, the way you're behaving. It's usually very polite and confident, so you're able to get people to like you and you can persuade them. But there's something wrong with the word smooth here. It's not really sincere. What does sincere mean?
Sincere means honest. So when you're smooth, that might mean you get people to like you, but really there's something different going on underneath. So if you're practicing every day, you won't worry about that. It'll just be more natural to be polite to people.
Exactly. If you just have smooth manners, then you might be smiling and being nice to people, but really inside, you're thinking, well, really bad things.
And that puts you into your casual mindset. You're thinking that way, and eventually you'll get tripped up at the very worst possible moment.
Yes. Now, if you get tripped up, that means you make a big mistake, and usually there are bad consequences.
Another way of saying tripped up is you'll fail when it's important. And it says at the worst possible time, which means in a situation that you really, really, really want good manners, but you mess it all up.
Yep, usually in front of the wrong person, or you make fun of the person who is in power, or maybe your boss, or your wife or husband, something like that.
Yeah, so it's important to practice every single day so you don't fail in front of these important people. Okay, so we're going to talk with our friend Jason next. Well, that's his name. We're going to call him Jason. You know, he says, I'm absolutely giving up swear words and bad manners. Ooh, that's a big promise.
Right, now this is a friend of the author's, and he says, I'm giving up swear words. If you give up something, that means you are not going to use it anymore or do it anymore.
Now, this is not something you'd usually laugh at, but he's laughing because he's about to tell us a story.
That's right. Now, first of all, Kayla, I want to define swear words here. He's giving up swear words. Swear words are bad words. Words that when you hear them, it makes everyone around you feel uncomfortable.
Or maybe you hear them in conversations, you hear them in movies, you hear them in songs, and you think, oh, it's a word of expression. Friends, especially when you're learning a second language and you're practicing your English, do not use swear words. They're offensive. And though you may think they're cool because you've heard them in songs, they're not. And it makes everyone around you uncomfortable, and you're running the risk of being ostracized.
Yes, thank you, Kayla. That is very important, friends. Now, we're going to look back at the conversation with Jason here. He says, I was crabbing at my wife during a parent-teacher function a couple of weeks ago.
Now, to be crabbing at someone means you're complaining and you're finding fault and blame in them. So it's just complaining about them to their face, kind of just being snappy.
Yeah, being rude, essentially. And he says, I didn't know that the microphone that was near me was on.
Oh no, the microphone right next to him is on. So that means everyone is listening to him crab at his wife. We're going to talk about what happens after we visit the information station.
Information station.
Brian, many people don't realize how important good manners are.
Especially when we're dealing with people we don't know, Bill.
Every day, we have many situations to show good manners to strangers. And we'll see some of these examples over at
Information Station.
Many of the buses here in Taipei are full of people, and some of them are senior citizens.
So, if we're sitting in a seat and we see one of these people standing, the right thing to do is get up and offer our seat to them.
Oh, thank you, dearie. You're such a nice bear.
Speaking of finding a seat, many fast food restaurants are full of students studying, talking, or sleeping.
And often, there are no tables available for customers with food.
So, the right thing to do is to let people with food sit down so they can enjoy their meal.
And in restaurants with servers, we need to remember that they are people, just like us.
What do you think you are doing? This soup is cold, and I asked for coffee, and you gave me tea. What's wrong with you?
That's right, Bill. There's a wrong way to talk to waiters, like we just saw, and then there's a right way.
Excuse me, could you please warm up my soup? And I would like some coffee instead of tea, please. Thank you for your help.
Smartphones can be great tools, as we learned earlier this month. But sometimes they can be a problem also.
Today, many people walk around only looking at their phones, and not paying attention to others, especially on busy streets and sidewalks.
I know the games are exciting, and maybe we want to send a text message, but it's good manners to pay attention to what's around you.
There are many good ways every day that we can display good manners to strangers.
And if you do, then maybe that stranger may end up becoming your friend.
So, friends, always practice good manners, and we'll see you next time here at
Information Station.
Information Station. Welcome back from the break, everybody. Do you ever get annoyed? Do you ever get angry? Do you ever get upset? Of course you do. You're a human. Now, when you experience one of these emotions, do you feel the urge to use loud, rude, or foul language? That's what the man in today's study chose to do, and it did nothing but make the situation worse. Let's continue the embarrassing story about a husband who was caught using foul language down on line 11.
Polishing your manners can improve relationships. There I was, like a fool, using foul language to tell my wife to hurry up and get her fill-in-the-blank laptop turned off so the program could begin. Almost everyone in the room heard me. Jason told us he assigned himself to the doghouse. His wife Jill didn't have to do it. Honey, if I'm crazy or profane, I want you to slap my dumb head off, Jason told Jill. I've learned my lesson, and I will clean up my act from now on.
Friends, it's important to have good manners, and remember, even if you think the other person that you're in a relationship with has bad manners, it's your responsibility to be the first one to change your attitude. Think positively and love the other person first.
Now, we're laughing with Jason at his story of accidental bad manners. He was talking to his wife. Well, he wasn't talking. He was crabbing at his wife and didn't know the microphone next to him was on. What happened next?
Well, he says, there I was like a fool using foul language to tell my wife to hurry up and get her fill-in-the-blank laptop turned off so the program could begin.
Okay, let's look at this. He says, there I was. Well, of course he was there. What does that mean?
Well, if you use that phrase, Kayla, that means you're painting a picture in order to show people what was happening. So you say, there I was. Everything else was happening around me, and you realize something.
That's right. That's a really good way of saying it. Everything was happening around you, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've been doing this. So there I was, acting like a fool, using foul language.
Exactly. Now, the word foul usually means something that is bad or dirty. And so if you're using it with language, what does that mean?
It means it's rude, offensive, or as well as dirty. So that goes back to swear words. It's the same thing. Friends, please, I cannot tell you enough. Do not use swear words, especially in a second language. If you don't really know what they mean, don't use them. You will only offend the people you're trying to communicate with.
Yes, definitely. Now, here, in this case, he was telling his wife to turn off her fill-in-the-blank laptop. What does that phrase mean?
This fill-in-the-blank, well, right, actually, he's inserting this phrase to take the place of a bad word that he said during the moment. To fill the blank in, what does that mean outside of this context?
Well, that usually means that there's a blank and you can write anything in there. In this case, we know that he used a bad word when he was telling his wife to turn off the laptop. So, Because he's trying to tell us a story and he doesn't want to sound rude to us, he's not saying the bad word in this sentence.
That's right. He's leaving it to you to fill the blank in. So you know kind of what he said already. So he's telling her to put her film, a blank computer laptop turned off so the program could get started. Well, almost everyone in the room heard him.
Oh, that is extremely embarrassing, and this is a good reason for him to decide to not use swear words and to be polite more often.
That's right. You know, it takes something, unfortunately, sometimes it takes being this embarrassed because of something you said to change your manners, but instead, let's just learn from Jason and not do the same thing.
Exactly. Now, Kayla, I think this is funny, what he did. I like this. He said he assigned himself to the doghouse.
Which a lot of husbands should learn to do. Now, the doghouse usually refers to a small building in the maybe in the backyard that your dog would live in. It's an actual house for your dog. But when you say some person is assigned to the doghouse, what does that mean?
Well, usually if it's a husband and wife, they're arguing late at night, and the wife would say, "Honey, go to the doghouse." In the old times, the husband would actually have to go outside and sleep with the dog. He wasn't allowed inside anymore. Now, we use this just to describe when someone is in deep trouble.
Because when a dog is in trouble and they've been in the house, they're in trouble, you send them to the doghouse. That's the biggest punishment they can have. Now, we do that here, too. You can say, "I'm in the doghouse," which means I did something so awful that I'm stuck being punished. And that means you're going to have to probably do a lot to get back on his wife's good side.
Exactly. And he assigned himself there, so he did it himself. And his wife, Jill, didn't have to do it.
That's right. Now, she probably would have told him he was in the doghouse. He wouldn't actually sleep outside, but he'd been in big trouble. But he already knew he was in big trouble, so she didn't need to tell him.
Yes, but he told his wife, "Honey, if I'm crazy or profane, I want you to slap my dumb head off."
Okay, so he says he is crazy or profane. Now, to be profane means you show absolutely no respect. Now, usually this has to do with religion, but it can also just be not respecting someone else.
Exactly. Yes. If you're being profane, you're using foul language, probably just being very rude, and usually publicly.
Yeah, publicly rude and very offensive. So he says, if I am being profane, just slap my dumb head off.
If you slap something, that means you hit it with the flat part of your hand very hard.
And very quickly. Now, he doesn't mean actually dumb head off. He doesn't want to remove his head. He's saying, "Honey, please just remind me of what I'm doing."
Yeah, just tell me, is what he's asking.
He says, "I've learned my lesson, and I will clean up my act from now on."
That's right. To clean up his act means that he is improving his behavior.
That's right. So he needs to improve his behavior, be more polite, even in public. Okay, friends, I hope you've learned a lot about being polite and can improve and polish your manners. Thanks for joining us. Let's visit the chat room.
Hi, Ken. What are you reading today?
Well, I'm looking for a job for my friend Peter. He has some bad habits that caused him to lose his last few jobs, but he's hoping to change his life.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you're able to help your friend clean up his act.
Well, that's what friends are for, but what exactly do you mean by clean up his act?
That sounds like a good question for Studio Classroom Editor-in-Chief Doris. Let's see what she has to say about this idiom.
Okay.
To clean something up means to make it neat and clean. But it can also mean to make it follow certain rules or moral standards. For example, to clean up one's language means to avoid saying words that are rude or offensive. To clean up one's act means that a person changes his or her behavior and begins to follow a set of moral and ethical rules.
I see. So clean can mean good or ethical as well as not dirty. Hey, doesn't squeaky clean have that meaning too?
Yes, squeaky clean can just mean very clean, or it can mean that someone has no moral faults. For example, a squeaky clean politician is one who's never been involved in scandals or done anything bad.
That's a really high standard. I know that Peter is trying to change, but I can also see that he feels like he'll never be squeaky clean since he's made so many mistakes.
I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. I know I have at times. It's important to admit what you've done wrong and ask for forgiveness. Then you can start again with a clean slate.
A what?
A clean slate. That means a chance to start again, as if all the things you've done wrong have been erased.
Cool. I'll try to encourage Peter to move on and start again with a clean slate.
Good. Tell him I wish him all the best.
我们知道 clean up 是打扫整理的意思 ，clean up 也可以指象征性或抽象的清理，比如说 clean up your language， 把你的语言打扫干净，意思就是不要说脏话。clean up one's act， 改变某人的行为，通常是指由不好的行为变成好的，也就是改头换面、洗心革面的意思。那今天的课文结尾的地方 ，Jason 说。I've learned my lesson and I will clean up my act from now on. 我已经学到教训，从现在起我要改过自新。那若是当形容词用 clean， 除了表示干净的，也可以指精神上或道德上纯洁、清高的。Squeaky clean 是个比较口语的形容词，表示非常干净的。比如说 ，a squeaky clean politician 是个光明正大、廉洁的政客。最后 clean slate 字面上是干净的石板，就好像一张白纸，引申出来的呢就是尽弃前嫌，重新开始的意思。好，我们下次图书馆见。
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. 今天的第一个重点是 trip somebody up 这个动词片。trip 当动词本来是指绊倒，这里延伸出来是指使失误。所以 trip somebody up 是指让某人失误或犯错。例如 ，Some questions in the game show were designed to trip up the contestants。这个益智游戏节目中有一些题目是设计用来考倒参赛者的，或者是 The lawyer's questioning tripped up the witness。律师的问话把这位证人给问倒了。继续我们看的是 foul 这个形容词 ，foul 在这里是指无理的或下流的。Foul language 就是指脏话，例如 There's too much foul language used in this movie。这部电影中用了太多的脏话。Foul 也指糟糕的或者是令人不快的，例如 Lillian had a foul day. We better leave her alone. Lillian 今天过得很糟糕，我们最好离她远一点。所以我们看的是 slap 这个动词。Slap 是指裹、拍或者是击掌。注意它的过去式、过去分词和现在分词。都要重复字尾的 p 再加上 ed 或 ing。例如 ，The boy slapped his friend on the back。这个男孩拍了他的朋友的背一下，或者是 The furious wife slapped her husband across the face。这个愤怒的妻子打了先生一巴掌。And that concludes our language tips today. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate those tips. Well, our lesson tells us that most tension in a relationship is caused by a tone of voice that has no respect for the other person. In other words, bad manners. Our author reminds us that good manners and things like thoughtfulness and consideration for others are essential if we want to be around and stay around people of power and influence. Also, we should practice good manners wherever we are so we don't get tripped up at a bad time. Okay, everyone, spend some time this weekend polishing your manners and polishing your English. We'll see you all on Monday. Take care.
Make a friend for life. Make us your friend for life at Studio Classroom Worldwide. Your friend for life. Make a friend for life. Make us your friend for life at Studio Classroom Worldwide. Studio Classroom Worldwide.